On the video today, I am celebrating bunch of people, incredible mentors, incredible influencers. These people had direct role in my life, and I'm also celebrating a book that fundamentally changed my game very early on when I was just getting started, and I was not sure which path I was taking. I knew the opportunity, I saw the promise, but then I was not sure if this path was the right path for me. And at a time when everything else was taking away my time, everything else was taking away my attention, this book fundamentally shifted my game. In fact, if you're a subscriber to this channel, then I talked about this book just a few days ago. And the book that we are talking is The Power of Focus. This book, Jack Canfield, Victor Hansen, Les Hewitt wrote this book. I believe I have this book with me for over 20 years now, and this is year 2025 when I'm recording this. I have no idea when this book came out, and I believe, actually, you know what? Okay, so I see this. This says year 2000. I have this book since year 2004. And this book, I'll tell you how I got this and a small little story about this book. Then we'll get into my 5 big takeaways from this book. Now, this video is for you if you're an entrepreneur, you are into self-improvement, self-development, and you want to, well, you want to influence, you're an influencer, you're a content creator, all that stuff. Okay, you got the idea. Now, you should read this book regardless. If you are into any, you are seeking accountability, you have responsibilities on you, then this book is an absolute read. New York Times #1 bestseller, USA Today best-selling authors. Okay, so let's talk about how I got this book before I get into the hype part of this book. Actually, my takeaways are incredible. The hype is this. I read this book literally at least once a year for the first 10 years of having this book. Okay, at least once a year. I read this book as a reference. I still go back and reading, I still, sometimes when I want to go back to my basics, I go back to this book. Haven't read this book in the last 3 or 4 years because, everything else took over my time. This book was first gifted to me, literally gifted to me, by an incredible mentor of mine, a good friend of mine, and somebody who I have, whose events I attended, from whom I learned, and then ended up actually consulting with him in a friendly manner, but then had him speak at my event. A long big cycle. Still one of those people whom always extremely what I call highly energetic, back in the day doing $1 million deals, today now with the net worth almost touching $1 billion, at least from a fund standpoint. The man who, I'll be surprised if he's going to come back tomorrow and say, I started a bank. And that's the level of, just an incredible influence in the world of investors, entrepreneurs. I mean, just a miracle. His name is Sharif Medawar. I want you to check him out and go to any of his events. Tell him that I saw Srini's video and that's how I came here. Sharif, I attended one of Sharif's events back in 2003, 2004, I believe, 2004, and then invested in one of his programs, and then along the way became good friends, and just like an elder brother to me. Sharif gifted me this book at 2004. And this book, this was the first time in this book that I read this incredible quote: everything that you want and you deserve is on the other side of fear. That was a big eye-opener for me. And there are so many other takeaways I'm going to talk about that I personally took from this book just in a second. But then a few years later, I was at an event that was by Ryan Lee. This was in 2008 in Connecticut. And Ryan is an incredible mentor, influencer. Oh, what a man he is. Incredible. I mean, even today, Ryan, at Ryan's event, for the very first time, I met Victor Hansen, one of the authors of this book. And I walked up to Mark. In fact, I'm going to drop a video of me actually talking to Mark, and I said, Mark, would you wait for me for a few minutes? Can I quickly run to my room and I get the book that you wrote? So I want your autograph. I want you to sign the book. And I went up to the hotel room. I got this book, and the reason, because I was carrying this book on the flight, I was reading this book. Okay, and so I ran down. Mark was waiting for me, and he ended up signing the book for me. Okay, and he also made a funny comment. He said, I know what you're going to do with this book. You're going to now sell this book on eBay and make a lot of money, which I said no. And in fact, after 21 17 years later, I still have this book with me, and I did not sell the book. I'll not sell this book. Okay. So that's the, three incredible mentors right there: Sharif Modawar, Ryan Lee, and Mark Victor Hansen. Some of my takeaways from this book, and by all means you should read this book, but some of the takeaways. Number one, and the foremost thing I learned, is clarity creates power. You can have everything, but there's nothing that creates power like clarity. Very simple. So people who have clear and specific goals are dangerous. They will win. They will always win. And if you're doing everything and you are not specific with your goals, you're going to lose out. And when you meet them, they're going to win. You're going to lose out. That's the point. So how do you go about this? One of the exercises is this: you sit down and you write 3 life goals. 3 life goals, and your job is to take 5 or 10 minutes every day and keep reviewing those 3 goals. You review those 3 goals daily, okay, for the rest of your life till you achieve those goals, and then you have 3 more goals, okay. The second big takeaway from this book is, small, little, consistent actions will always beat big leaps. Incredible takeaway from this. You can occasionally, create something big and make it big, but it doesn't stand in front of consistent daily results, consistent actions. Success compounds when you take consistent daily actions. So what do? How do we go about this? So you list down 3 habits that you want to change or that you want to inculcate, and you work on them every day. Very simple. Okay. The third big takeaway from this book, and then there was another book that came right after this. The third takeaway is focus on your strengths and delegate your weakness. I got that idea very early. The book says, why waste time? Strengthening some weakness takes a lot of effort, time. It's not worth it. You'll continue to stay unhappy as you're doing that. Who knows? When will you turn a weakness into a strength? So focus on the strength. Forget about the weakness. Let somebody else take care of this. And the follow-up to this book that came out a little bit later was the 4-hour work week. And the 4-hour work week was a template that showed how to outsource your weakness, which I suggest you read, but do not read unless you read this, okay? And then if you're successful in reading 4-hour work week, there are 2 different versions. The first one, the second one, the version came out, and then the third version, which is the 4-hour body, which I also recommend that you read. But again, 4-hour work week gave the template on how to execute on delegating your weaknesses. Okay. The fourth one, and the big takeaway is to learn how to say no. I was always raised as a yes guy. If somebody says something to me, I would say yes. Parents say anything, I say yes. Teachers say anything, I say yes. I'm a yes guy all along. And this book for the very first time said, by saying yes, how you are, deviating, how you are not, losing focus, obviously, because this book is about focus. But then, just by saying one no, you preserve yourself, your intentions, your energy and all that, and why it's important. Incredible. Talking about learning to say no, there is another book I recommend that you should also check out, which is The Power of a Positive No by William Ury. Check this book, incredible book, which actually acts as a follow-up to this book. And then finally, the last one is, if you want momentum, use accountability. And this big takeaway, use accountability to create momentum. What it means is that you have somebody who stays accountable, who makes you accountable, and you meet up with them maybe once a week, or once every 2 weeks, something like that, and then you and that way you stay on course. Now the interesting part of this one is I took this principle, and practically 10 years later I started my coaching called momentum coaching, where I experimented with about 100 people to start something. If people become accountable very early in the morning, then the chances are they're going to execute and get things done throughout the day. At the end of the day, they had an awesome day by the time they're done with the day. That was the idea. I tested that with about 100 people, in and out, not always, but about 100 people joined the momentum program. The idea was, I wake up in the morning, they wake up in the morning, 6 o'clock, we do a call, people become accountable, and they go and run with the day. That core idea, the core principle came from this book. Okay, so as I close this video, here's the final message. Everything that you will read in this book, the chances are you have already found on social media. The time when I read this book, there was no social media, there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, nothing. At that time, the concepts were amazing. But I'll tell you something interesting. There's so many videos on YouTube. They all talk about this, and in bits and pieces, everything in this book is available probably by this time on YouTube. I know for sure it is. So why this book then? The answer is very simple. The authors created multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're coming from a point of experience and running those businesses for decades, and becoming known and respected in their field because of their contribution and the way they have lifted this space. I don't think anybody has, and just for that reason, you should read this book. Okay, even though some of these principles, as I said, are already available on YouTube in bits and pieces. Okay, I'm going to stop here. This video has gone long. If you liked this video, then by all means, please like, so I can reach some more people. If you subscribe to this channel, then I'm in front of you literally every day. And if you have beyond a like and a subscription, I want your comment. I would trade 1,000 views for a comment, practically. Okay, that's my mindset on this. That way I can communicate with you. I can hear, I can see that you have seen this video. And that's all for now. Wherever you are, you be safe, and I'll be with you as early as tomorrow. You take care. Bye now.